Phil McClendon was the pastor of First United Methodist Church in Stamford, Texas. During his time there, he was there several years, 8, 9 years. The first couple of years were very touchy, and in fact, as he shared with me, he didn't think he was going to make it. But he shared with me a time that was a turning point. Had nothing to do with a conversation with a person, conversation with a committee, or anything like that. It had something to do with the conversation between him and his God. Now, when God speaks to us and we use that phrase, usually what we mean is that there's an impression, a push in our spirit that we can't really discern. It's just sort of a presence that we can somehow put words to. But on occasion, we hear a voice in our heads. It's not audible outside, but on our heads. And even on a rare occasion, I have never done this, we may even hear an audible voice, but rarely a voice in our heads, usually just a touch. Phil was, as we said, was having some trouble in his church. And in that instance, he was in this sanctuary praying about it. So here he is in the sanctuary of First United Methodist Church in Stamford, standing up, praying about the problems that he was having. And he heard this voice, and as we said, audible thought. That's what it was in this case. Phil, will you submit yourself to me? But Lord, I've always been submitted to you. I've submitted to you when I answer the call to preach. I submit to you when I do this, that, and the other. I don't know what you mean. Phil, will you submit yourself to me? And so Phil got on his knees and told God, I submit myself to you. I give myself to you. And he prayed some more while he was in that position. And then God said again, Phil, will you submit yourself to me? And Lord, I haven't submitted to you. Well, will you submit some more to me? And so he got on his hands and knees and said, Lord, I submit myself to you. I give myself to you. And then, as he was praying while more, he said, Phil, will you submit yourself to me? And he got down prostrate, laid out on the floor, his arms spread open wide, and said, Lord, I submit myself to you. I give myself to you. Everything I have is yours. In all my will, in all my ways, I give myself to you. God touched him very deeply that day. You see, Phil learned a difference between merely praying, and I really don't like using it that way because prayer is never merely. But he learned a difference between praying and worshiping. He became a living sacrifice, as Romans 12:2 puts it. And he was acceptable to God. May we submit ourselves to him as Phil did that day and give ourselves completely to him.